What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And on today's episode, the second episode for today, we're going to be breaking down the newly released Chicago Bulls 2022-23 schedule. How many nationally televised games do the Bulls have? How many TNT games do the Bulls have? We'll break all that down and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So first, we're going to answer the question that was asked, right? That everybody's waiting for. Are the TNT Bulls returning? Well, yes and no. The Bulls have 3 games advertised or aired on TNT this season. Now, they do have 14 nationally televised games. That's up considerably over the number last season, which we had less than double digits last season. So with that being said, I know that some of us expected more. Let me hold myself accountable. I expected more, but considering how the Bulls did perform in nationally televised games, the fact that other teams around the NBA have a little bit more excitement around them because they made bigger moves. Again, they may not make them better teams than the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, it's interesting enough to see. Now, with that being said, the Bulls do have, like I said, definitely seen an uptick in the number of nationally televised games, which is what we wanted to see. They have 7 games televised on ESPN this season, 3 games on TNT, and 5 of our nationally televised games are all in January, surprisingly, as well. So get to start off the new year with a lot of Bulls in there. We're starting season as expected on the road against the Heat and the Wizards. I said there may be a game between that Heat and Cavs game, so we'll be playing the Wizards between that, and then we have 3 straight home games against the Cavaliers, Celtics, and Pacers. Listen, we speculated and said, are the Chicago Bulls going to be tested early? Considering we got the Heat, we got the Cavs, we got the Celtics, all within the first 5 games of our season. The Bulls are going to be tested early. We're going to see how they get to measure up against other teams very early on, and I, for one, am excited to see. It's going to be an exciting time around Chicagoland to see how this team responds, how they react, how they start off the season. We hope that they're going to start off the season much better than what they started off last season with. They started off last season pretty good, but I mean, hopefully have better showings against the better teams in the NBA next season. So with that being said as well, it looks like, let's see, as I go over the schedule, apologize, I'm just trying to bring everything up. Looks like the Bulls have quite a bit of back-to-backs as well on this schedule, which is the most interesting things. They play 9 games in the first 15 days, and 3 of their 15 sets of back-to-backs are during that time. They have 15 sets of back-to-backs over the course of the season. Pat, the designer, had said how many back-to-backs are the Chicago Bulls going to have? Well, we got that answer. They got 15 sets of back-to-backs. So it'd be interesting to see how that measures up and stacks up against the rest of the NBA as well. The Bulls in this one, let's go over the first, how this season is going to start. So already said we're starting off the season on October 19th against the Miami Heat. Then we got a game in Washington, October 21st. The 22nd is against Cleveland. And then 24th is against Boston. And the 26th is against Indiana, all at home. And then we go on to place San Antonio, Philly, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Boston, Toronto on back-to-backs. The New Orleans Pelicans, Denver, New Orleans again, Orlando, then Boston. Listen, the first part, October and November are going to be tough schedules for the Chicago Bulls, in which they play a bunch of playoff teams all in that stretch. And then after that, we got Utah, Phoenix, and Golden State at the end of November, beginning of December. That's a heck of a stretch there. And then after that, we have Sacramento, then Washington. We'll see how those 2 games are. But then we face Dallas, Atlanta, New York twice, Minnesota, Miami, Atlanta, New York again. And listen, this schedule is very much front loaded. Let's look at the last few games for the Chicago Bulls. So in March 20th and 22nd, we have Philadelphia at a home and home. And then we got Portland, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Lakers again, Charlotte, Memphis, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Dallas, and then Detroit. The season even ends tough for the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are going to be tested early. They're going to be tested late, and it's going to be up to them to really show what type of team they are next season. It's exciting for me. I don't want easy schedules. I love the fact of having a tougher schedule. I love the fact of being tested early into the season as well. To me, that's what you want to see. We want to know how this team measures up early. And keep in mind, just like we saw Io DeSumo take leaps. That's what we saw the team kind of gel and get better. We'll see what happens with this team. They could very much get better over the course of the season, but coming out the gate to have really tough matchups early on, I think can only bode well for the Chicago Bulls. Now, the NBA in this is introducing what's called a Rivals Week this season, and the Bulls are a part of it. So the Bulls will face the Charlotte Hornets January 26th, which is Rivals Week. And that game will be aired on TNT. I don't know since when the Hornets are our rivals. I guess because it's the battle of the Ball brothers. We don't even know if Lonzo's going to play. Hopefully he will. It's in January. But with that being said, I love the introduction of a Rivals Week. I still think our rivals are still either Cleveland, Detroit. I look at our rivals, even the Miami Heat are still kind of rivals left over from that Heatles era. So them trying to build up a rivalry between the Charlotte Hornets and the Chicago Bulls is an interesting one, but it's one that I'm not mad at. Considering they have LaMelo Ball, we have Lonzo Ball, I'm not mad at that being our rival during Rivals Week at all. It's just an interesting thing, and as the NBA is trying to find these things to kind of generate more, I don't want to say generate more interest, but just to make games a little bit more exciting, introducing a Rivals Week could be huge for the NBA, and it's going to be interesting to see how that is. This is the inaugural season of it, but how it continues to evolve. Are they going to change the rivals if rivalries evolve during the season? I look at the Atlanta Hawks as maybe being a rival for the Chicago Bulls, considering Io DeSumo's son is on that team. You get a father-son matchup. But with that being said, this schedule is an interesting one. I think this schedule is a lot more balanced in the fact that it kind of eases up some in the middle of the schedule. While it's tougher, those first 20 games, those last 15 games are all going to be really tough. And you still have tough matchups in between there, but listen, I feel like this is way more balanced. I feel like this is a better way for the Chicago Bulls to not only be ready and battle tested early, but for us to really know what type of team we had. We started off last season with a weaker schedule, and some people have now used that to say, hey, were the Bulls ever as good as we thought they were? Now we're going to know early on, we're going to get to see what type of team we really have and the matchups that they have early in the season. I love this schedule. I'm not one that's going to shy away. Bulls basketball is back here shortly. That's the thing. That's the most important thing in all of this. We now know what we knew already. October 19th, the Chicago Bulls are back. We're getting back time for basketball. So, and also to add to this Rivals Week thing, so there are 11 games during Rivals Week. This is from January 24th to 28th. Those matchups are the Celtics and the Heat, the Clippers and the Lakers, the Nets and the 76ers, the Grizzlies and the Warriors, the Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball with the Bulls and the Charlotte Hornets, the Suns and the Mavericks, the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies, the Raptors and the Warriors, I threw a complete memory break there. They're doing the Denver Nuggets against the Philadelphia 76ers, the Knicks and the Nets, and the Lakers versus Celtics. That's an exciting week of basketball in the NBA. And while they're trying to make rivals with some of those, so like for example, the Chicago Bulls Charlotte Hornet game isn't listed as Chicago Bulls versus Hornets being the rival. It's listed as LaMelo Ball versus Lonzo Ball. And then with the Nuggets versus the Sixers, listed as Nikola Jokic versus Joel Embiid. So not necessarily the teams being rivals, but some of the players on those teams being rivals. So I would still have liked to see Io DeSumo versus his son, Trae Young. That's just my personal opinion, but we'll see how that goes over the course of the season. This is exciting. The Bulls, TNT Bulls are back February 16th. Against the Bucks. So that's going to be exciting as well. A lot of these matchups and looking at the national TV. So let's talk about which games are nationally televised for the Chicago Bulls. So our first nationally televised games, our first game that's on TV will be against the Philadelphia 76ers. This one is October 29th. That's on NBA TV. It's kind of hard to give that national because you have to be subscribed to that. But then we have two back-to-back ESPN games on November 2nd and November 4th against the Charlotte Hornets and Boston Celtics. And then our next one is on ESPN again against the Golden State Warriors on December 2nd. And then against the New York Nets on December 14th. That's on ESPN as well. Then another one against the 76ers on ESPN January 6th. And then we have Boston, Detroit, Atlanta, all on NBA TV. Those games are respectively January 9th, January 19th, and January 23rd. Then we go to TNT against the Charlotte Hornets on January 26th. TNT again against the Brooklyn Nets on February 9th, and then against the Milwaukee Bucks February 16th on TNT. So those are our TNT games. And then we have another ESPN game against the Brooklyn Nets. And then our last nationally televised games is against Milwaukee Bucks. That one's on April 5th. That is 4 days before the end of the season. So that's kind of how the schedule kind of works out and shapes up. I'm not one to do and look at the schedule and say, hey, well, the Bulls record is going to be this, because you really don't know based off of how these teams, injuries could happen, things like that. But we finally do have the Chicago Bulls schedule. I want to hear from you guys. What's the matchup that you're most looking forward to? Which nationally televised game are you most looking forward to as well? And then how do you think the Chicago Bulls perform in nationally televised games this season? Let me know all that down below. But that is it for this episode on the NBA schedule release special episode from Chicago Bulls Central. You are the best part of the podcast. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave us a text and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.